stuff. Alright, I'm gonna... Okay, it was aborted. Alright. I play e4. Alright, so he's gonna play Caro-Kann, play the classical variation. I play a line with h4, h5 and stuff. Oh yeah, sorry.
Is that better? I think I accidentally clicked it. Yes. Okay.
Very cool.
All right, just to recap of what I've said when I was muted, I normally play Caro-Kann, and I decided we should play the classical variation.
Develop.
All right, and I'm going to play knight d7 to stop knight e5 business.
Okay. What do I play against that? So I'm thinking either like bishop c4, bishop e2. I don't really remember what I'm supposed to play here. Maybe c4. Maybe just bishop d3. Let's play bishop d3.
d3, that's pretty common. Gotta take it now. He'll take back to the queen. And I will play e6 to get my bishop ready to go out.
Question is, where do I want to castle here? I know in some lines you castle queen side, but I could also castle king side. I don't see any reason not to. I mean, the pawn on h4 maybe is a bit of a weakness, but it shouldn't be a big deal. I think castling is probably just fine.
Castles. Alright, I am going to get my knight activated here on its most natural square. Skype is telling me I have a lot of background noise.
Alright, so
how is that?
I'm thinking bishop f4, some simple developing.
Is it the music? I'll turn that off.
Okay, yeah, bishop f4.
That's by my fan.
Yeah, bishop f4.
Is that better? Bishop f4, pretty natural place to put it. Stops me from playing queen.
I was just gonna play c4,
and
try to get a
d6, which is
nice pawn
I could have
center.
thought about.
I have a better development.
Right now,
I
I'm
have more
thinking
active pieces
either
here.
queen
His knight
six
on
attacking
b7
the
is
b2 point,
it's
or
even a suspect right now to me.
bishop f7. They both prepare me to castle
yeah,
either
but it's
direction.
just position.
Like right now, the thing I like about this position that I reach quite a bit is that it allows versatility. So I do. I think I'm gonna play queen b6 first because it's the more forcing of the two, making him make a decision on how he's gonna defend the b2 point.
Okay, queen d6. So the question is that pawn hanging? Can you actually take it? I mean, it's probably not hanging. He takes it. I can get to the 7th.
Oh, just a second. Oh, okay. Sorry. My cat wanted to join the party.
So I'm thinking about just something like rook fe1 or maybe c4. c4 seems reasonable too, and I think it's something that I'm going to play eventually anyway. And maybe it's not so clear where my rooks should be yet. No, I'm not really worried about him taking that pawn. He's not. I don't think he's really prepared to enter into complications here.
c4. Tricky. I don't feel safe taking on b2 because a rook b1 move would be very hard to deal with. Okay, I'm sorry. My cat joined me again. I'm gonna close my door. Get out of here. Get out of here. Get out of here. All right, that's better. Obviously, he's gaining space. I'm still a move away from castling kingside if I decide to do that eventually. Candidate moves. Bishop e7 is on one of my top ones I'm thinking right now, because then it's still flexible, whereas castling queenside would show him like my whole hand earlier than I plan to, and I think that's what I'm gonna go for. I'm gonna go with bishop e7.
All right, so bishop e7. It's a normal move, and you can't even take on b2. You couldn't take. Just realized that looks like the queen got trapped, so that's not an issue. The move I kind of want to play here is queen b3. I want to get the queens off, open the a file. It seems reasonable. Again, rook fe1 seems also like a reasonable move. Maybe a rook to d1 is also reasonable here. Yeah, queen b3. Yeah, I like queen b3. It's kind of fits with my style. So yeah, let's do that.
Offering a queen exchange. That's interesting. If I take it, he's going to take back with the pawn, and that gets his rook bearing down on the a pawn, which would mean castling queenside is off the cards for a bit until I take care of that. But if we get the queens off, castling kingside is a little more attractive. All right, what candidate moves could we be thinking of? I really want to trade queens off here because it'd make the whole calculating in general a lot easier. And considering I haven't played a like serious game like this in a while, it's really attractive. And I'm not seeing anything else that really sticks out to me. Like there's the knight to f1 to g6 rerouting to attack the bishop to get him off that b1 to h2 or b8 sorry b8 to h2 rank, or not rank, diagonal, you know what I mean. But that seems kind of long-winded when I can just simplify right here. So I think I'm gonna trade queens. All right. Now I am free to castle kingside.
Okay. So we took
As funky as the pawn on h5 may be, which is one of the reasons I'll talk about it on my turn. Sorry.
Rook a5 looks interesting to me. Maybe on rook a5. I'm gonna just play bishop b4. It's kind of a loss of tempo there. Loss of a tempo. Rook fd1 also seems reasonable. Maybe rook fd1 also should be considered. Okay. I don't think that I'm ever gonna. I don't think I'm playing d5. I think I'm gonna get that in anytime soon. So maybe putting a rook on d1 isn't the best idea. Guess I'm just gonna go to e1, rook fe1, keep my other rook on the half open file.
Makes sense. Rook e1 getting his, sorry about that, getting his rook on the open file. And as I was saying, I wanted to wait until whenever he was saying when he was done. Even though the pawn on h5 looks funky, like it's not the easiest pawn for him to attack because, like as you see here, he'd have to do at least 4 moves to get his knight to f4 to attack it a second time, and I can just easily push g6 if needed there. But like, so yeah, even though it looks funky, it's, I don't know, I like it. So rook e1. My first thoughts are that my rooks are not really doing much. So rook fd1 is my first thought to get my rook on the open file, but that might not be the best decision. I got to look at it more. There's not too much more I could do here. Like, I could play bishop b4, attacking his rook, and then he'd probably just lift it. So, but then that stops him from doubling up on that file. And then I could also play moves like a4, which is locking down that, so it's gives my rook on the a file chance to play. So I think I like that. I like playing. I think I'm gonna play bishop b4 to gain a tempo on the rook, and then maybe moves like rook fd1, a5, then maybe doubling up my rook somewhere. But so right now I'm thinking bishop b4.
Yeah. Well, that's somewhat of the obvious move that I didn't consider, but I suppose here rook e2 is, it's whatever. It seems reasonable. Yeah, I mean, I could try to go to d1, but I think I want my rook on the e file, so maybe just rook e2 here seems
k2. That's what I expected him to do, and I think here I am going to bring my rook over to the open file because it's what makes sense.
Okay, so it's playing pretty quickly. Bishop g5 is the first move that comes to mind, just pinning the knight to that rook. Yeah, maybe bishop g5, and I can. I guess I can't. Maybe bishop g5, and in some lines I'm actually taking on h5. Maybe not. Yeah, bishop g5 makes sense here. Just maybe it's a little uncomfortable for him.
Well, I wasn't planning on moving that knight anyway anytime soon. So I think I'll go ahead with my a5 that I was talking about earlier.
Okay, a5.
Now, my...
Interesting. Okay, all right, so, 94 is kind of the natural move here. You go something like, I don't know, rook somewhere. And then when I takes back with the knight. What about knight e5? Knight e5, something like, I guess, bishop d6. Maybe knight e4 there. Knight e5, bishop d6, knight e4. Maybe after bishop d6, I even have c5. c5, bishop c7. Then maybe that knight can go to c4. I'm attacking the a pawn. I don't know if I really want to play c5 ever here. With the backwards pawn on the d file. Yeah, but I think knight e5 is the the way to go anyway. Keep a little bit of pressure here.
Knight e5. First idea I see behind this that he has is that if I take, then he takes with the pawn, and that's ouch town because my knight is pinned to my rook, meaning I would have to go down the exchange, and it would move my knight to an unfavorable position. So I think here I'm just not going to take it. That's my first thought. Because if I did take it, like, bad things would happen. So I may need to reroute my bishop. As juicy a place as it is, I don't like that knight move. I'm sorry. I'm saying I need to reroute my bishop because I'm thinking playing bishop to d6 would be helpful, as that would allow me, if he plays moves like knight e4 to attack it, I can then drop back to e7 and break that pin. So if he does take, I can take the bishop and then everything should be okay. Whereas if I play it here and he takes the knight, if I play bishop d6 here and then he plays knight takes d7, I can take with my rook and that breaks the pin. And as ugly as it may look to have him take with bishop takes f6 after that, I can just take his knight back, and then if we do have doubled up pawns, we both do. So thinking I'm gonna have to go on the defensive here and play bishop d6 just to stop his threat.
Okay, so he plays it, bishop d6. So here I thought that maybe c5 and knight c4 was an idea, but I'm not sure if that's I'm not sure if that's really justified, I guess. C5 looks like a really strange move in this type of position. I could just play knight e4, bishop somewhere. Probably bishop e7. So knight e4, bishop e7. What am I doing there? Alright, so knight e4, bishop e7, and then I don't have a great move there. Maybe I can go knight e4 to d2, maybe? No.
Sorry.
Right, so maybe this weird c5 move is an interesting way to get to play for something here. Yeah, I guess should maybe make it interesting here with c5.
That's interesting. Again, my first thought is dropping it back to e7 because it's the same idea as if he had played knight to e4. It breaks the pin, and then like if he does take knight h5, I can just take his bishop. But the other like if I play that, like that's fine and dandy. But I'm also considering c7 because that's also dropping back to protect my a5 and still keeping an eye on the e5 square. Because like if he plays if I play bishop e7, the line I'm envisioning that makes it not attractive is him playing his knight back to c4, and I'm not quite sure how I would respond to that because then he'd be attacking it twice, and it's just not pleasant. So I'm thinking I'm gonna drop back to knight c7 to protect against the possible knight c4.
Okay, bishop c7. So I think on bishop e7 I could have taken e5. Yeah, I think that's pretty simple there. So bishop c7, normal move. And here, well, the idea was knight to c4. If I'm not playing knight to c4, then c5 didn't make much sense. So let's do that.
Oh, and there's that knight c4. Predicted a move. I'm not liking this backwards pawn I have on the b file. So I'm thinking I should try to get rid of it, but then that also gives me an isolated c pawn, which, I mean, it's nature of the beast when you have backwards pawns. But I can play rook d to b8. That would break the pin that's on my knight right now, and it would also prep maybe a b pawn push here shortly, since it would be having 3 attackers on it compared to his 2. So I think I'll go with that. Oh, wow. Did I not move? That's
Okay.
interesting.
Rook
I'm
DB8.
sorry. Well,
That was an interesting move. I guess he's. I guess he's trying to play b6. I'm not sure. Or maybe he was just breaking the pin. Maybe he was just breaking the pin. Okay. Alright, so my idea now is I'm going to try to get a knight d6. That's going to be the big plan. We can't play knight e4 right now. Just take. What else? What else could I do here? So maybe now. Maybe I have something like bishop d2. But maybe he has b6. b6, he takes b6, knight takes b6. Rook takes a5. Rook takes a5, knight takes a5. Is that okay? Is that bad? I think that's alright. So bishop d2, v6. C takes b6, knight takes b6, rook takes a5, rook takes a5, knight takes a5. And then there, what does he play? Maybe there he can play knight bd5. Okay. All right. So b6. If b6, he takes b6. Bishop takes b6, defending the pawn. I can probably just take there. And that's just a better version, I think. Alright, yeah. I think maybe this is interesting. I'm not sure if it's. Not sure exactly what's happening there. So bishop d2.
bishop d2 attacking my a4 pawn a second time, or a third time, sorry. So now it is attacked 3 times and defended twice. Oh, what to do about this? I'm thinking I can just go ahead with my plan to liberate my backwards pawn with b6, since he didn't and couldn't do anything to defend the b6 square again. And then this way, I think I might end up a pawn down if I'm calculating correctly, but I think I'll still be in a fairly good position to hold strong for the draw. So I don't really see anything else I can do to protect a5 again. I might I might not even go down a pawn. Yeah, if I play something like b6 and say c takes b, and then here I think is knight takes be, because if I take with the bishop, knight takes b6, knight takes b6, and then if it does end up where we have pawns on both sides, I'm at a disadvantage because he'd have a bishop left over. So I'm thinking if I play b6 and followed by c takes b, knight takes b, then rook takes a5. I'm thinking rook takes a5, then knight takes a5. And here, oh, this is a very convoluted position. All right, let me visualize this. All right, so after all this, we would have a white knight on a5 and a black knight on b6. The rook's on a8 and a1 would be gone. I think I can play knight to d5. That would open up the lines for my rook to attack b3 while opening an attack on the knight with my bishop. Yeah, I think, okay. All right, I think I can play that position. So I'm gonna go with b6 here.
All right, so he plays it. All right. So I thought c takes b, knight takes, right? And knight takes a5, rook takes, or rather rook takes, knight takes. And then maybe he has knight bd5, but I take on c6 and he takes on b3. No. And I'm like kind of a pawn or something. But I'm losing the b pawn there. I think that's just, I lose that. So they're going to be equal pawns, but I'm going to have the isolated d pawn. Okay, but, so maybe that's not great, but I don't think there's much to do about it now. And I think I have to take.
All right, then I calculated knight takes b6.
Okay, so he plays knight takes. So I thought rook takes here, rook takes, knight b5. The complications. Alright, so if I take on a5 immediately, he has knight d5 again, and it's more uncomfortable there. Because there's a pin on the a5. Oh man, this didn't turn out so well. But I think I have to take on a5 with the rook first.
All right, and we have the rook takes, and then I'm seeing knight takes, but he could.
So I take with the bishop. I thought I'd take with the knight first because it hits c6, but if I take with the bishop, what happens if I take with the bishop? Maybe there he can take on c4. I take on c7. He takes on b3. Maybe that's better. Maybe taking with the bishop is actually better here. Maybe that's a better version. Because I think if I take with the knight hitting c6, and he just has knight d5, and both my b pawns are following. And he's gonna have that really big knight on d5. So I'm running out of time here. Anyways, I'm with the bishop.
We have bishop takes a5. What I'm thinking here is I can play knight takes c4, and then that's opening an attack on his bishop, so he's going to have to respond to that immediately, and he'll have to play bishop takes c7, and then I can take on b3, and then my knight isn't attacked anymore. And then at the end of that, I feel like I have a more active rook, which will at least guarantee me a draw, I believe. So I'm gonna play knight c4 with the idea that if he takes bishop c7, I'll take rook takes b3. Okay, and play that.
Alrighty. So here, yeah, so my d pawn is gone. I think I have to try to hold on to the d pawn, so maybe bishop e5 and stuff. Hopefully good stuff. Okay, bishop e5.
Alright, I think knight d7 is needed here, because it may look like I can win that b2 pawn, but if I do go ahead with, say, rook takes b2 followed by he takes on b2, and then I take on b2 with the knight, he can have the really strong d5 pawn push, opening an attack on my knight, and then taking on c6, which would be very hard to deal with. Whereas if I drop back to d6, I can threaten his bishop, so he has to do something about that or lose it. And then after that, after he moves it somewhere, then I can take the pawn on b2, and then he'll take the pawn on h5. And then when we get there, I'll calculate some more. I do like that I'm up on time, though. That's nice. That doesn't normally happen.
Alright. Interesting. So king h5. And I don't really care if he takes on e5. Should I care? I don't really think I should care if he takes on e5. He's hitting h5. So knight takes h5. Knight takes e5. D takes e5. Rook takes b2. Or knight takes, I don't know. Rook takes, knight takes. And I should be able to hold that.
Sorry. I'm out of water. Now I could go ahead with my bishop, or taking the bishop on e5 and then taking the pawn on b2. But now looking at this position, rook to b5 looks interesting as well, because then there'd be 3 attackers on the e5 point, and only 2 defending it, and it would then be pinned to the knight. But then in response to that, he has f4. What would I play in response to that? I could play f6. Ooh, yeah. f6, f6. You know that gets really complicated. Oh, and it is late at night. um, hmm. I could just play safe and make sure I get my pawn back. 9. Hmm. Decisions. Okay, so if I play rook b5 and he plays f4, I play f6. What else could he play other than f4? He could ignore it and get his knight back in the center. If he does that, then I would take his bishop with, I want to say the D because he's the farthest out, whereas the C knight is fairly centrally located. And then I could take the pawn on b2. I think I'll do that because, yeah, I think I'll play rook b5 with the idea that if he plays f4, I play f6. And then I feel like in that position, he's under some pressure. And then if instead he plays knight g3, which is my other candidate move for him, I'll just take with my d knight on e5 and then take the pawn on b2. Because that pawn's not going anywhere. It's not getting defended anytime soon. So, all right, here we go.
Okay, did not see that move. Okay, that's interesting. I can't take on g2 with either piece. The bishop is pinned to the knight. I would take on g2 with the knight. He can just take the bishop. He's also, I guess he's threatening like f6 or something. So probably should just move the knight. Knight f4, knight g3. It's knight g3. Knight f4 might trap my bishop or something. I don't know. Knight g3 seems okay.
All right, we have knight g3. I'm going to go ahead with my plan. No need to recalculate quite yet.
Okay.
All right. Now, do I want to take with my knight or my rook? If I take with my rook and we get a draw, that's going to end in a draw very quickly if he takes. Which, I mean, might be a fair result. But I think, at this point, I think I'm really the only one that can play for a win, because I'm the one that, after I take with the knight, would have a passed pawn. And as long as I don't lose that pawn, like, I don't think, even if I do lose it, I think I'd be able to pull out a draw. All right, Higgs. I'm gonna make you work for this draw. Yeah, I'm gonna take on b2 with my knight so that we don't simplify down.
Okay, so he takes on b2. Interesting. Okay, so I'm thinking just rook c2 here. Rook c2. What does he play there? We try something like c5. I just have knight e4. So maybe. What does he do there? Maybe he goes rook b4. Rook b4. Rook takes b6. Rook takes h4. I don't know how I'm losing that. I can't just 3-on-3 rooks and knights. Or maybe, I guess I'm not winning. Maybe I was never winning. I thought I had to lose something at some point. But I guess not.
Immediately attacking my pawn. My first thought is I can protect it by simply pushing, but then he has knight e4 that would be attacking it immediately again. Then I can defend it with either rook a4 or sorry, knight a4 or knight d3, and d3 is more attractive since it's more centralized. And then I'd also be attacking his e4 pawn. And if I I do push my pawn, that's one square closer to promotion, which means he's one more square to being a big pain and Higgs behind. What are my other options? I could play knight d3 immediately, and then if he takes on c4, I take on e5, and it's probably going to be a draw, like I said, since I'd lost that pawn. If I push, what other options does he have? I don't think he has very many other options. So I think that's what I'll go for. I'll go for pushing pawn to c5, and then he's probably going to play e4, and then I'm going to play knight d3. And then we'll all be locked down on that pawn. We'll probably end up bringing our kings in. And as I look, who's going to have the opposition? Because that could very well decide this. He would have the opposition. So I think this is going to end in a draw, but we'll play it out.
Okay, so I just thought 94 here. 94. What is he gonna play there? I mean, something like c4. You just have knight d6. Yeah. Or even like knight d2 should be fine as well.
I just noticed, I didn't see this before, if I do play knight to d3 and we bring our kings out, he's going to be able to attack my knight right away. So if I play knight a4, that's a little sketchy. But if he does attack it, I can always just take e5, and then we'll probably end in a draw. So okay, I'll play knight d3.
Okay. Interesting. Maybe I can just play like king f1 here, whatever. Yeah, whatever. Okay. King 2.
Okay. Now, I had thought about playing e5 here. I could also play f4. No, I'm just gonna take on e5. I'm just gonna take on e5. He takes with the rook. That's all right. Yeah, I was just about to offer him the draw. Okay. Well, that was a good game.
Cool. Hey.
Okay. Can you guys both hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, let me get him to unmute.
Hello?
Hi.
Hey.
Hey.
Good game.
Yeah, you guys played excellently.
It was interesting. That middle game was an interesting one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought I was in a pretty good position when I was able to get in a4 and my or a5 and my bishop on b4, and then you played, I think it was let me go back just so I make sure I say it right.
Well, we'll analyze it now. So let me bring you guys
Alright,
into the thing.
Sorry.
It's okay. Hold on. Alright, hopefully this works somewhat decently. Okay, so I'm gonna invite you, Mr. Gone. And I have to find Sharkly. Hold on a second.
Alright, so what do you need me to do?
Oh, I sent you an invite. You should accept it.
Is it just gonna show up on
Just accept, sorry.
Yeah, I will, but I need to find your
Okay.
name first. Yeah, there you go. Okay, now hold on. Let me invite you, Sharkly. Coming. SI. SHA. Okay, let's see if I can find you. There you go. Okay, so invite to analysis board. Okay, so you should see an invite pop up on your screen.
I've accepted.
Okay, so you guys are both in. Alright, so yeah, I honestly had no idea what was going on for a large portion of this game, but maybe between the three of us we can figure it out together. Okay, so can you guys see I'm making moves on the board?
Yeah, I see you.
Okay, so, Carol Khan, everything normal so far. Okay, H5 is a little weird. Usually they play H6, but this is also a line. Okay, so bishop d3 normal, take normal e6. Okay, so you castled. I'm not so sure that castling is actually correct here. I think you're actually... well, I think you're supposed to keep your options open. So...
Yeah, you're right.
Like maybe like bishop f4 or something, and then, you know, you can kind of do 50-50 depending on what he does, but I think actually you're supposed to castle queenside usually in these positions.
Yeah,
but
I know that usually you castle queenside, but...
I mean, it's not like a horrible thing, it's just... I don't know, you kind of have to worry a little bit more about h4 now that your king is castled.
Yeah, in this position, like, he's gonna castle eventually, and there's not anything really that pressing that... I mean, he could play maybe knight f4 ahead to stop me from playing queen c7 or...
right, that's why I like bishop f4 a little bit more, but...
Yeah. I see what you mean.
Yeah, okay. So knight f6, bishop f4, okay, so happened to do queen b6. Okay, so c4, so of course you cannot take on b2, because then the rook goes to b7, so you didn't even consider it, which was good. So bishop e7. Okay, queen b3. Okay, I know you enjoy endgames, but I don't think you can play queen b3 here, unfortunately.
I was not
yeah, I mean, I know Higgs is, you know, loving the endgames and whatnot, but I just think queen b3 is too, like, it gives black too much of what he wants, because, I mean, an endgame is probably more beneficial to black than it is to white, because white has more space, so going into endgame kind of negates that space advantage. So if I were you as white, maybe a move like knight to g5?
Yeah, okay.
Right?
I play chess to enjoy myself. I like endgames.
I understand, and I mean it's fine. I'm just saying, like, if you want to make objectively the best move, something like knight g5, because now the point is he can't castle queenside, and he probably can castle kingside, because knight takes h5 just wins, right? Because then there's a mate threat. So he can't actually castle either way, and I'm not sure what he does now if he can't castle either way. Because now you have ideas of maybe playing knight takes e6 in some near future after you play like rook fe1, and I'm not exactly sure how he continues development here.
Yeah, that's one of the big problems I do have with the Carl Khan, is that you delay castling for so long that if you...
Well, you should maybe try looking at that line where you play h6 instead of h5, because then you kind of solve a little bit of the problems with having pieces hop to g5, because I think that's something was kind of a theme in this game, because if you notice later on you got pinned on that knight got pinned on f6, and if you have a pawn on h6 then really no pieces can come to g5, so so maybe you should look into that line as something that, you know, might be a little easier to play, because I mean this is definitely a line, it's just I think it's a little more tricky to maneuver your pieces accurately. But okay, all right, I'm not gonna get on Higgs too hard for playing queen b3, even though I probably should. Okay, so you exchange queens. Okay, so now I actually really liked the way that you played Mr. Gone from this point on. So you castled rook e1. I'm not entirely sure you want to put a rook on e1. I mean, it looks good, but I mean, maybe you should just be trying to get d5 in super hard. So maybe just like rook f d1 and then like rook d3 and rook a d1, something like that. So I'm not sure that your rook is actually.
Yeah, I mean, I considered like the idea of playing d5, but I wasn't sure if I was ever actually getting it in.
Yeah, I know, but
Like, if it was ever.
yeah, I mean, I'm honestly not sure either. I mean, another thing you could consider here is maybe. I guess it's a little weird, but I don't know. Maybe like rook a4. Maybe.
Doing what?
I don't know. Then like rook f1. If he plays a6, like I kind of want to play like bishop d2 to b4 maybe, because I'd like to exchange his bishop off if possible. But I don't know. Maybe it's a little too far fetched. All right. I mean, I don't think rook f1's a bad move. I'm not sure that like it's the most accurate. But okay. Okay. So I really like bishop b4. But I liked it for a specific reason that you didn't end up playing in the game, and the reason I liked it is because after rook e2, I thought you had a very strong move here. I'm not sure if it actually was, but I like this move c5 here.
c5, okay.
So the idea is you want to create a square for your knight on c5. So you're basically forcing either white to capture, or you're going to capture on d4, and then the knight on c5 will be very strong because he won't be able to kick it away, and now you're targeting this weak pawn on b3. So, like, notice how he can't play d5 in this position because he just hangs a pawn.
Yeah. That would definitely free up my position too, because I did notice that I got very
right. Exactly. So in these types of positions, notice that you're slightly more cramped. Whoops. Yeah, in this position, notice you're slightly more cramped here, but I mean, you really have no weaknesses. And notice that by playing this move c5, the two squares that you lose control of, this one and this one, are really not important at all, because this one his pieces can't get to, and this one you already have well defended by this pawn. So this kind of freeing break lets you kind of activate your pieces, and I think it would have probably equalized or maybe given you a slight advantage. I'm not entirely sure, but
what about bishop d6?
Yeah, so bishop d6, I mean, what does it do though? I just play, say, rook fc8.
Okay, rook fc8.
And then, okay, I mean, the pawn's pinned, but like, maybe I play a5 next move?
Couldn't he
Or
play,
even I just play rook c6 maybe next move.
He could play d5 right here.
Could he? Well, can I just take it then, or?
Then I think I
like g5 and d5.
And then
wait, so you want to play d5 here and then take, and you want to play like rook e7 or something, or?
I don't know. I was thinking maybe like opening that line for the rook, and then maybe bringing, since when I'd be taking with the e pawn, that would open up f5 for his knight to jump in.
Oh, and then hop into e7 maybe. Okay, so maybe take, and then like knight f5. Okay.
But then I gotta do
maybe
something like that. Like
maybe you play rook to d8 instead there.
Okay.
To see it.
Okay. So yeah, maybe instead of rook f8, maybe rook fd8.
Yeah.
Yeah, because now maybe. Yeah, now maybe I play a5 next move.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, but I thought this was a potential thing. I mean, maybe it's not even that good. I don't know, but it just seemed to be like.
No, I mean, that c5 push is a very pertinent move, like break in the Caro-Kann.
Right, exactly. I mean, maybe it's not well timed here. Maybe what you did was actually correct. Maybe, although I don't know if walking into this pin is necessarily the best. So maybe actually here, maybe you should play rook fc8 with the idea of playing c5 next move, and then now bishop d6 doesn't really threaten anything. But okay, so anyway, so you played rook fd8, which was okay, and then bishop g5. Okay, and now you played a5, which I thought made sense. Because you wanted to kind of take that pawn away from capture. Okay, so I know this is kind of crazy, but I was actually looking quickly during the game at this move. I know it looks weird, but I kind of had an idea. Yeah, so my idea was, I know it looks weird, but so my idea was take, g4, and then I assumed knight f6, g5, knight h5, and I thought g6 would be interesting. I think the problem with it though is that you have knight f4, but I thought like white might actually be better here, even though you would think normally the two pieces be better than the rook and the pawn, but I think you're actually creating a bunch of targets here because like this is coming, and so I think black's losing a second pawn by force. But like I said before, I think knight f4 is okay because then knight gets to d3, and then maybe b2. Although I'm not sure if it gets trapped there. I'm not sure, but I thought it at least merited consideration, and I was surprised that like you didn't even consider it at all. Even though like I know it looks weird, but it has a very concrete idea behind it. Like it's not just I'm just trading two pieces for a rook and a pawn. What do you think about it, Higgs?
Yeah, I mean, when I played bishop g5, I considered some lines I could take and it'd be maybe interesting, but I don't know. It's I'm not sure. Like it's a pretty committal move there.
Yeah, I agree. And like I said, usually like 95% of the time you don't want to trade two pieces for a rook and a pawn. But I thought if you could somehow like get g6 in by force, I thought it would be really good for you. But like I said, I kind of underestimated knight f4, and I wasn't sure if the knight was getting trapped there or not. But okay, I mean,
I did really like his move that he did play here.
Yeah. No, I did too, because I actually think he had a chance to do that thing I was saying one move later. Because okay, knight e5, bishop d6. So I'm not sure. Like, can you play something like? So what was the idea of bishop d6? You just wanted to hit the knight again, or?
I was going back and forth between bishop d6 and bishop e7 immediately break.
Right, to relieve the pin, but I mean it's still pinned, right? Because like where are you going to move your knight anyway?
Yeah. But the reason I chose d6 was that since I did get my a4 or a5 push in, it is kind of vulnerable to like moves like bishop d2 and possibly after this knight c4. So having it on d6 allowed me to drop it back to c7 to keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
And then So
no, that makes sense. I just don't know, like.
Can I take on h5 here? Like
yeah, that's what I was thinking too, actually. But
an extra pawn in this variation.
Right, exactly. That's the other thing. But I thought I'm trying to think for black. Can you play like just like rook c8 here, or is that too weird?
Can't take on h5 there. After rook dc8.
Well, like if he takes, if I play,
yeah, maybe
he can take on h5 and then.
Yeah. Okay. No, you're right. Okay. Yeah. You know, you're right. Yeah. I'm not sure. Okay. Bishop d6. Okay. Let's say bishop d6. Okay, and then yeah. So the thing is, yeah. Can you take on h5 now? So h5. I don't know. Taking on e5 or anything doesn't really help black, right? I mean,
well, doesn't it get to be fairly close to the same position as?
Well,
before?
the problem is now this is hanging at the end. I mean, I don't know if it's a problem, but it might be good.
Now I can play like rook f4, then like.
Well, I'm not sure if white should interpose this move first or not.
It's better than the other. It's a better version.
Yeah, so you get two pawns and a rook for two pieces. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You might be dropping this guy though, because like, okay, so if you take on a5 immediately, say, so say knight f4.
I would, yeah.
And then if rook e4. Now you take and play like knight d3 here. Is that right?
Yeah.
And then rook d4. And then you can't really take on b2 because I think rook a2 traps the knight, so you'd have to play like knight b4. And I'm not sure who's better here, because if black can get his rooks coordinated with like rook a7, it could be real dangerous. Because now there's like this pin, so this actually might be really good for white. Okay, I mean, well, I guess we can just get back to the game.
Couldn't I take with the couldn't I take with the knight right here? Right here, take with the knight.
Oh, take with knight first? Yeah, okay.
No pin there.
Okay, so knight takes, pawn takes, you're saying, and then
he takes.
C5,
Then I drop back to c7.
Yeah, you drop back to c7, okay, and then rook a7? And now you're losing a third pawn, maybe?
Then or rook d1 check.
Okay, and then king h2. And then you want to play like knight d3 or something? Here.
Is there anything there?
I mean, knight d3, take on b7, take on e5, take on b2, and then maybe this guy falls too. I don't know. This is super complicated. Probably black's fine here, actually. Yeah, I don't know. It's super weird. Okay, I mean, it's something to consider, but again, yeah, it's committal at best. So, okay, so you played.
I really liked this c5 idea when I saw it. So
yeah. Okay, so you played c5, which does make sense. Okay, so he played bishop c7, and now knight c4. Okay, can you play knight e4 here? Or no, he can take on e5, right? Or can he? I guess he can. I guess it's like the same thing. You get 2 pieces for a rook, same thing, but it's better for him because d4 is hanging. Okay, yeah. So knight c4. Okay, rook db8, and now.
Yeah, that was a nice move. I didn't consider it. It was good.
Yeah, and now bishop d2 dropping back makes sense. Okay, so
I
now.
wasn't sure if I was going to be.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess the idea is eventually, like, what's going to happen is these 3 pawns for these 3 pawns or something. But I thought, okay, so take makes sense. Take. Whoops. Okay, let me wait for this to. Okay, so take, and then so you played. So rook takes. Okay, so why not knight takes here? So knight takes knight bd5, right?
Yeah.
And then knight takes c6, rook takes b3, and then can't you play?
This is more annoying.
Can't you play like bishop a5 here?
Bishop a5.
And then can he take here twice?
Can he? I mean, why not?
Yeah, I don't know. I just thought maybe.
Yeah, that was like a problem with a lot of lines I was thinking. That I dropped g3 and like I hadn't considered that before.
I don't know if I could do this, but I mean, I guess he just has this, and then it's kind of bad. Okay. No, yeah, I don't know. I think actually black's better here, if this doesn't end up working. Okay, so can you just play like this or something? Bishop c3? Or is that not even like? Is that pointless?
All right, so if knight bd5.
Yeah, then. I mean, I guess you're dropping b3 anyway. Yeah, I guess you're just down a tempo on what happened in the game. I'm just trying to think of some way to like fix your pawn structure, but I guess what you did is probably best. Okay, so take. Oh, whoops. So you took with the bishop. Okay, and then knight takes pawn. Oh, right. Yeah, obviously. Yeah, take, and then rook takes pawn. Okay. Yeah. So this is tricky. Yeah, I think you're worse here, Higgs, because I think that like you're losing.
I'm not very well coordinated here. I'm losing all my stuff.
Yeah, like this knight is kind of just the problem. Okay, so bishop here, knight here. Okay, so yeah, you took on h5. Rook b5. I thought that was a clever move. Because now...
Yeah, that was interesting.
I wasn't even considering it at first, and then I just I saw that skewer and I was like, I could work with this because
Yeah.
like I originally saw F4. I was like, oh, I can't do that. But then I saw I had F6, and that would have.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
And, yeah.
I like that a lot. Okay, so you played knight g3 here. I'm not sure that's the way. Can you play like knight f4 here?
What do you want to play? I thought knight f4 that like there was like traps.
I know, but I kind of like want to goad him into playing f6 though. Is the point? Because I always have this way to get out, and then I can take this next move with the knight.
Okay, yeah.
So I mean the whole point is okay. So what happened in the game? He took on e5, right? So he would probably would you do the same thing, Mr. Gon? Would you take on e5?
I'm sorry.
In this position, if I play knight f4, would you take on e5 still?
I mean that would end in a pretty drawn game. So like, it's not bad.
No, I know. I'm just curious because because Higgs played knight g3 and you ended up taking on e5 anyway. So I was just curious if you do the same thing because it kind of turns out slightly differently. So say knight e5,
c5,
d5.
c5 looks interesting, but I think this is probably more solid. Yeah.
Okay, and then you take which one? The e5 or the b2?
I would probably take b2 simply because.
So knight b2, right?
3 pawns. My 3 pawns can stop his 4 pawns.
Right.
Easier than if I lose my c pawn stopping his b pawn. Yeah.
Okay, so now maybe. I guess it's roughly the same, to be honest. Like rook c2.
Yeah, at some point.
c5.
He does stop my.
Yeah, he stops knight d3. So maybe here. Just like king f1 to
e2.
e2.
Have a way to get his own knight in then.
Yeah, exactly. I guess it's the same. No, I guess it's the same. Okay, so knight g3, take. Oops. So yeah, maybe. Oops. So maybe here. Okay, if chess.com stops bugging out. So instead of knight takes e5, can you play?
I was thinking c5 might be interesting.
Yeah, c5, and then what does he play?
94.
Right. No. Okay. Well, can you take on b2 here with the knight, like right away, rather than taking on e5 first? Because I feel like your knight is better than his bishop. So if you just play like
knight's better than the bishop. Yeah, because
b2 is at least a little bit more interesting.
Because keeping more pieces on the board is probably good.
Yeah, it's true. Especially if I'm trying to play for a win, I should probably.
Right, and also another thing, actually, now that the knight's on g3, maybe f6 comes to consideration. And then he has to go, and then you go bishop f4 Higgs, I guess.
Well, yeah, but what does he play after knight takes c2?
b2? I guess he plays knight e4.
Knight e4.
I mean, I assume. I don't know. But I feel like maybe f6, bishop f4, king f7?
Well, if he plays knight e4, couldn't I take on e5 with my knight and then take with my rook and then he's pinned?
Yeah, b2 falls. You take on e5, he plays rook c2, you play c5, but no, I guess that's a win for you, huh? Yeah, okay, so yeah, he'd have to play like bishop f4 or something.
Yeah.
And then that's kind of grotesque. And then you can play like knight d3, and then like rook b1 check and stuff like that. Yeah, so I think you kind of let him off the hook a little bit, because after take, now all of a sudden think it's hard for you to win this, but okay. So rook c2, c5, knight e4. So I was surprised you didn't play c4 here.
Yeah.
So c4.
I didn't even consider.
Yeah, and then knight
I wasn't even
d6,
considering.
and then rook b4. And then I'm not sure what's happening.
So just like play king f1 and stuff.
Yeah, okay, so king f1, king f8, king e2, king e7. And then what do you play? King d2?
Maybe like f4.
Okay, f4. But now I can maybe play... Okay, so yeah, so now f4, f6.
Can play like g4.
Okay, but yeah, now I want to play knight d3 is the point.
Okay, so I take on f6, then take on c4.
Well, if you take on f6, can I take on d6?
Isn't that check?
Wait. No, I mean, if you take this, I take this? Or can I not do
I don't
that?
understand.
Wait, in what position? Oh, you want to take on f6? Because you have a knight on d6.
Yeah, okay, no, I see it. And if I take on g7?
Yeah, and then I play like rook b8 or something.
And then I take on c4?
Yeah, and then I move my knight or something. I mean, are you winning that? I don't know. Maybe you are.
I don't know. I didn't consider that at all.
Okay. I mean, I don't know. It just felt like black has something. I don't know. It was interesting. I'm not sure because the thing is like black's pieces are kind of all tied down to each other. Like the rook's defending the knight's defending the pawn.
Yeah, so it's hard to make.
Yeah, it's hard to make progress. Yeah, and f6 is always going to be tough to play.
Which is where keeping that knight and bishop on the board might have.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think that bishop for him was a liability more than a strength because it was awkward. It was awkward to place it. Okay, but you took on b2, and then you played this move knight d3, then king f1, king f8. Okay. Okay. So here, okay, in this position after king f1. Okay, what about this move?
Playing that right away.
Yeah, so now you're threatening mate. And like g3 doesn't exactly stop it.
Okay, so f2.
So you have to play f3, right? Yeah. But now the problem is now the second rank is more compromised. So I feel like now if I go back to d3,
king 2.
Yeah, king e2. Right, and now I take on e5.
Okay, yeah. When I take on c5, and it's kind of the same thing that happened in the game, right?
Right, but I think there's a difference because this pawn's on f3.
What do you want to give like check on b2 or something?
Well, I mean, are you taking it with the knight or with the rook? I'm guessing the knight, right? Okay, so you take the knight. I play rook b4.
I want to take with the rook.
Oh, you want to take with the rook? Okay. So you take with the rook. I play check.
Okay. Okay. I guess king e3.
Okay. So I think I just play f6 here.
Can I play like g4 stuff?
Okay, you can, but I don't know about this because now I have this maybe?
Can I play h5?
Right, and now I play this. And now you're losing a pawn. Because now I'm threatening this and this.
I can play knight g5 though.
Yeah, you can, I guess. You can, I guess. But I don't have to...
G4.
Oh yeah, you can play knight takes g4.
Well...
Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting.
Well, knight takes g4, king f4, and then... Oh, and then take on g5, and then take on g4, and I don't know. I mean, I just feel like I just feel like white playing f3 gives black additional chances. I don't know if it's anything concrete, but I feel like forcing f3 is a concession. That's all.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if king f1 first is actually most accurate. Maybe in this position, actually, you should play... I know it looks weird, but maybe you should play g3 here first.
Why? Oh, for the...
Just stop knight f4. I mean, like I said, I don't even know if it's anything necessarily, but... I mean...
I had like 3 minutes. I didn't see
no,
it.
I understand. I'm just trying to be accurate.
Yeah.
Like... I mean, like I said, I don't even know if it's anything, but...
No,
I just don't think like this move compromises anything necessarily. Although
I didn't see that. I didn't see that he was gonna make me like any lines.
yeah.
Yeah, after g3, I'm kind of fearing the f4 push, so I might even just now simplify down because
just take on e5 right away.
It's a little more challenging.
Right. Okay. So what happened? Oh, no, that's not it. Okay, so you played knight d3. No, not g3. Where's your move? Knight d6. Oh, right. Okay, and then rook b4, king f1, king f8, king e2, king e7, f4.
That was...
Oh, this is the other variation. Where's the other variation? What the heck?
Yeah.
No, so it wasn't c4. It was...
I played
knight d3, right? Okay, and now...
King f1.
Where the hell is king f1?
It's knight d3, king f1, king f8.
Alright, hold on a second, because... Oh, I see what happened. Okay. Sorry. Okay, yeah. King f1 here, right, okay. And then not knight f4, but king f8. Yeah, okay, sorry. Okay, and then king e2, knight e5, rook c5, and here you reach a draw. Although even here, like...
You still want to give the check on d2?
I mean, sure.
Yeah.
So I have a trick here, actually. So where do you move your king?
I want to go to e3.
Yeah, I don't think you can, though.
But knight g4 or something?
Yeah, knight g4 and f5 is my idea.
Okay. Well, yeah, okay, so...
So king what?
I mean,
King f1?
I'm not losing that, I don't think.
I don't know, are you? I mean, okay, where do you play?
Well, king f1, I mean... Like,
Okay, king f1, knight g4. I'm not so sure. Because now I'm threatening f5, and I don't know how you stop it. Maybe?
Can I play, like...
He could play, I think he has perpetual here. You play c8, then I play e7.
Yeah, I don't think it's perpetual, because I'm going to play...
Go back to e8 or f8, otherwise he gets f7 and protects them.
Oh, maybe you're right, actually. I forgot about that. Yeah, so so knight d6, I guess, at the end works. So if he goes this way, you can take on here. And if you go here, then you can go here.
No, yeah.
So I have to go back to f8, and then it's a draw. Oh, man. You're lucky. One tempo. So maybe king f8 was just a big mistake to begin with. You should have left your king on g8. Actually, maybe in this position... Yeah, maybe king f8 was a huge mistake, actually. Maybe you should actually go this way. That's actually probably what you should do, now that I think about it. So, say you play king h7. Now, okay, same thing, king e2, knight e5, rook c5, rook b2. Same idea. Okay, so now if king f1, okay, now knight g4. And now I think you have problems, right?
Knight g4... Why can't I play f3, like... If he plays f5, why can't I play f3?
Okay, so what do you want to play on this move?
I don't know. Let's say I pass or something.
Okay, rook c7. Okay, so f5. You want to play f3 here? But I can play knight e3 and take on g2.
Okay, yeah, never mind.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's part of the reason why I want to play knight f4, like in that earlier variation to kind of force f3 and make those types of.
I give the check on g5 first.
Okay, here. So check on g5. Okay, king g6. Okay, now I'm threatening rook f2.
Oh, he does have the...
They have like
The routes
h5, knight takes h7. F7, sorry.
Okay, h5. Okay.
Instead of h5, couldn't he just take on e6, and then when I take back, check on g5? When
No, because if you take on e6, I think you take on f2. And then a lot of stuff is hanging. And I don't think rook h5 works either, because rook h5 just king g8, and then what has white accomplished? I'm still threatening f5.
Alright, so what about knight g5 and h5?
Okay, so I mean this is all kind of just fun stuff, but okay, so knight g5 and h5. Okay, so I take and play
Click on f7.
king. Okay, can I play e5?
Can I take it?
Then I take on f2 and play rook f5? I don't know. I guess you could play knight d7 or something. Yeah, I don't know, it's probably just a draw. Yeah, it's probably just a cute way to draw. So rook f2, king wherever, rook f5, knight d3, then take, yeah, it's just a draw.
I saw that.
Saw the whole thing. Cute way to draw. I don't know, I mean, I think black could have, you know, put a little bit more pressure on you, but I think a draw was a very just result, because I think you guys both played pretty well. And that was a super interesting game.
Thank you.
Yeah. So
Thank
I'll
you.
let you guys go. You guys have used your brains enough, I think, for today. But I appreciate you guys both being on, and I will definitely let YouTube bask in your brilliance.
Thanks for the game, Mr. Bone.
Yeah, thank you. You're a great opponent.
Alright, cool. See
Okay,
you
thanks
guys later.
guys. I'll talk to you soon.